Okay, so we're going to go through how to replace a power switch on a LabQuest 2. The things you'll need are a soldering iron, some sort of vise mount, a electric screwdriver with a star tip, and some solder wick, and some sort of wedge to pop the faceplate off. And then your replacement parts that you'll need are going to be your replacement button, as that oftentimes is lost, as well as the actual switch itself. So we'll just start with dismantling the LabQuest 2. As you can see, this one has the power button missing. So we'll start with, there are 5 screws, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, once you have all 5 screws removed, the best way is to take some sort of wedge device like this little plastic pick that I have here, and there are 2 tabs on the top and 2 tabs on the bottom. So what you want to do is wedge this in there and pop it, and then do the same on the bottom. Pop it, pop it. Sometimes you don't get it all the way. Alright, there we go. The faceplate came off. The next bit is we're going to take the screen off here. As you can see, it's just connected through this one spot right here, so we're going to just lift that cover up, and then the screen ribbon will come right out. Next thing, there are 2 screws, one on the top and bottom. After you remove the 2 screws, everything should just come apart at this point, so you can pull the board away from the back plate. The next thing you'll want to do at this point is you will see these 2 wires here. Oh, and there's our old power switch. See these 2 wires, so you want to remove this tape, and then you want to undo this bottom wire, the closest one, and it's just a snap that comes right out. At that point you can remove the board from the middle section here. So the first thing we'll want to do, we'll set the board aside for now. The button membrane has come out, so you want to slide this metal piece off like so. I tend to bend this metal piece up, so this plane of the metal piece, ever so slightly, just bend it up, but that will give it a little bit more tension to hold the new membrane in the future. The other membrane slides right into that slot, then the metal piece slides right over it to keep it locked into place. Alright, now we can set that back aside. The last thing you want to do to prep your board is you want to take that wedge and you want to get under here to pull the speaker out. You don't have to do this, but it'll make it easier to manipulate the board in your vise. So we'll go ahead and set up our board in our vise, and then we'll show the actual power switch replacement. Alright, when I come back, we're going to do the actual power switch replacement. Okay, now we've got a close-up on the board where you can actually see where the switch is going to go, which is this spot right here. There are 4 pads that need to be cleaned with the solder wick. So we'll go ahead and do that now. I like to get a big kind of wide iron, like you can see there, big screwdriver tip, because you're going to really need to heat this up. Okay, so once you got all those pads clean, if you can see how they don't have any sort of solder sticking up, that button's going to sit on there nice and flush. So we'll take our replacement power switch right here, you'll see there's 2 holes on the board. Those 2 pegs on the bottom of the switch are going to just go right in there. Now, I like to start with doing the posts on the side. Those are going to be kind of your anchor points. So you can just start there. Okay. Now, once you've done that, you have the 2 back posts to do. Let's see if we can get the good angle here. Okay. So, I start with the left one, and you put a little heat on the pad and the post itself. Add some solder. And this one should be easy and should flow right on there, typically. Now, the right post is the ground, so that one requires a bit of extra heat. So I like to go ahead and let my iron rest on it for maybe about 10 seconds, just to really get it extra heated. Otherwise that solder is just not going to flow on there, and then your switch won't work. So now that we've got about 10 seconds on there, we can add a little solder and just make sure that it flows on there, which looks like it's having a little trouble. So you just apply more heat until you get a nice flow onto that post. And there we have it. Alright. After that, we just reverse the order and put this whole thing back together. So if you remember, your speaker cord is going to pop right back in here. And you'll set the board into the new centerpiece. You'll want to mind to put the microphone into the square that it rests in, and you'll see your new switch sits right under that membrane. Something you want to be aware of is this top wire right here. Actually, you do not want it to cross this component, which I'll zoom in on. There's this component right here, and so I typically take my wedge and just tuck this wire underneath your port. This wire comes back around, snaps into where we had removed it previously, and then tape down your 2 wires again, making sure that they don't actually cross this component right here. If you do, you could run into issues with your GPS. Alright, then your back plate can go back on. Your 2 screws go back in. Alright, and then your screen. So again, you just tuck this ribbon right into the slot that it came out of, and sometimes you have to kind of nudge it in, but then this flap just pops down and that will keep it in place. Now at this point, before I put the faceplate back on or any of the screws, I like to go ahead and boot this up, and then we can make sure our switch actually worked. Assuming that our switch does work, you will just pop the faceplate back on and return these 5 screws back to their original place. That's it. Thanks.